All right, hello, welcome into a trade reaction pod. We have our co-host Eric Follman with me, and we have a surprise guest at the top, Eddie, the big trader, Mazer. Eddie, what's going on?
How's it going, everyone?
Eddie, another country heard from. It's great to see you. It's great to meet you for some that have never seen you or met you before. Eddie wanted to hop on the pod, show his face, maybe give a trade reaction. Eddie, what do you got to say? What do you got to get off your chest, my man?
I'm just glad finally all the people of the league. Good to see we got some different reactions to it. So, now I'm just here to talk about it a little.
All right. So when you look at that trade, let me get to this trade here really quick. You sent out I got to go up to the top. You sent out Mackenzie Gore, Riley Green, Byron Buxton, Mike Yastrzemski, and Zach Plesac. Got back Sean Manaea, Tim Anderson, Jordan Romano. What was your goal in this trade? Do you think you accomplished it?
Overall, I think I like it because I obviously am not gonna compete to ride up the roto standing halfway through the year. So I thought I saw a chance to do head to head. Obviously I've moved up quite a lot with the last week. Looked at kind of where my team's acting, and I had some extra stats, and was part of that. I had like 17 home runs last week, so was lacking in runs, lacking in on base percentage, wins, quality starts. So I was just like, well, Buxton's great, hitting all these home runs, absolutely great player when you have them, but I just don't want to gamble too long with him. And then when he's on the field, great player, but I just didn't want to take the gamble for the rest of the year, especially with them playing a couple games here, there, missing games there. I just figured it was time to move.
Yeah, I mean, I would like to interject a little bit. I don't think there's any question that you're still in the money for the roto. I mean, outside of Tyler, we'll get to him in a sec. Tyler's sitting down there at 29.5 points. His roto hopes might be dead in the water. He might not have any chance. But I mean, even Corey, even Chad, I mean, they're not out of the question, out of roto. And I don't think that anybody should punt on their team in June. I think that's kind of silly for anybody to be like, well, there's no chance that I can get back in the roto. I mean, you got how many roto points you got here? You have 69 roto points. I mean, I don't think that anybody's really run away with it. A lot can happen. This is baseball. We know that teams can have good second halves, guys can string things together. And I mean, to find 5 pitchers that can string it together, have a good second half to kind of overwhelm a pitching staff, like anything can really happen. Your offense is good enough. I mean, if you could just found some pitching, you could really make a run. I'm not saying it's you're probably gonna get, it would take a lot to go right to get back in the roto rankings, but I'm not going to say that you're out of it in roto. But I mean, I think head to head's a good goal. But what do you have to say about that, Eric? What do you think?
It's tough because there are some categories that, I mean, not necessarily that you have to get up to first place in a roto category, but there are some categories that are getting a little out of hand for some. I mean, when you got Chad down 100 RBIs from first place, 100 RBIs, and we're already, I mean, there are some that are quite a bit substantially different, but I mean, if you can climb 5-6 spots and not worry about climbing all the way to the top, I think that's something people need to focus on, is kind of being maybe in one of those top 3 or 4 teams in the category, rather than how far away am I from first, you know what I mean? So yeah. I mean, definitely a lot of it's catchable, but I mean, sometimes like when you got K's, I mean, K's is a big one. Peter has 634. Tyler has 384. So you're literally looking at a 250K difference, and Tyler has only 100Ks more than 250. So those are going to be tough catches.
Yeah. Yeah, but I mean, nobody's really looking to go from last to first in any category, really. But I mean, if you look for a team like Krim, who he's sitting down there at 68 points, but he's got 406 strikeouts. I mean, 62 strikeouts for Krim is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 points. So I mean, that's huge. I mean, you got to kind of just find those smaller gaps where Krim sitting down there in second to last place with 406 strikeouts. He's probably not going to catch Peter, but could he definitely catch me with a good second half? With some of the guys and transactions that he's made, yeah, potentially. If I know he had Chris Sale on his roster once upon a time, he had DeGrom on his roster once upon a time. That was, that's achievable. We'll talk about his team here in a little bit, but yeah, I mean, it's just a matter of finding where those windows are. I mean, I look at myself in last place in stolen bases, and I mean, it's no secret I've been trying to get speed for a long time. I don't expect to catch Peter's 80 stolen bases, but I go, holy cow, 6 stolen bases is 6 points for me. And then if I can find like 16 stolen bases, that gets me all the way up to like 4th or 5th, So kind of finding those gaps can be those huge jumps in Roto. And that's kind of the beauty of the Roto scoring format, is being able to find those statistical categories and maximize your team for what it can do best. So Eddie, I know you can't be here forever. So Eddie, what are you looking to do for next couple weeks, for us the year? What does your team need? What are you willing to give up? Well, what's your goal roster wise?
Well, obviously, I think I could use maybe like, I don't have anybody that's even close to like, I think I have one guy that's close to like 90 strikeouts. And that's just a pretty big lacking point. Like, obviously, I would probably need to find some kind of big ace to really hold down my pitching staff, because using Patrick Corbin for the last couple of weeks hasn't really helped. So, but giving up, obviously, I have tons of offense.
Yeah, I mean, Sean Manaea, you just traded for him. He's the only guy that's got over a strikeout an inning, and he has three more strikeouts than innings.
Right. Yeah. So slight improvement over Gore, who, he's a good strikeout pitcher as well, but Gore just wasn't getting the wins or quality starts, only going 5 innings every time he goes out there. So that was just a little frustrating. Obviously, why I'm got 1 point in wins and quality starts. So, but still maybe considering looking out for another good pitcher. So,
all right, you guys heard it here first. Eddie's still in the market for a pitcher. He's still got the offense to boot, he says. So send some offers his way. Eddie, appreciate you coming on, and we got to get back to work.
Of course.
Peace out to everybody.
Have fun. Yep. Take it easy.
All right. See you later tonight. All right. Eddie plays second base for my softball team, for those wondering. A damn good second baseman, leadoff hitter. All right. So back to the rest of us. We have a pod to finish. I'm going to turn this over to Eric, because Eric, I have one question for you. And that question is, what team has surprised you the most since the last time we podcasted?
It's only been a few weeks since we've done it, but I mean, honestly, I think the fact we got to start giving Bryce credit where credit's due. He's still hanging in there in the head-to-head, and I know we have 2 different facets of Roto and head-to-head, but at some point we were thinking maybe his Roto would catch up to kind of his head-to-head record. And it hasn't.
Overtake me in head-to-head?
Bryce is doing, Bryce is 61-45 in head-to-head, and he's had the last couple of weeks he's been doing pretty solid. So
I'll tell Bryce that he'll never let me let it down.
He's one of those guys, kind of like Jay, where we rip him a lot on the trades, but somehow, some way, like we've talked about, he stays alive. And we're gonna have some trades of Bryce to talk about here soon. But I mean, we got to give it to Bryce right now. He's hanging in there. He's got a good record. He's right there. It's tied for 6th in Roto, so he's hanging around.
Yeah, I mean, I agree. I mean, Bryce catches a lot of heat from us. He catches a lot of flack, but just somehow he just kind of hangs around. His team just kind of overperform their peripherals, almost their expected stats, and he just kind of seems to always be there. And I kind of give him a little respect. He repassed me up in head-to-head in the combined rankings. I mean, still kind of down there a little bit in the Roto. I mean, down there at 72 Roto points. So getting a little lucky with the scheduling. I'm still going to stand by that. I mean, I freaking look at my last week's, rankings, and I was like upper half in most categories and lost the week 2-7. So, that's how the cookie crumbles when you got to go against Peter, who is going to strike out 89 people in a week. I know you've been there, Eric.
Oh, I've definitely been there. That was rough.
So, it's all about strength of schedule. We don't know. Some of us aren't as lucky to get the blessed schedules in any given week. So there's a team here that needs to be talked about. And before I talk about this team, there's something I gotta say. Eric, Chad, Corey, Dave, Eddie, Justin, and Bryce. I owe you guys an apology because although I did not have you ahead of Eric, I did not have you ahead of Tyler, or I did have you ahead of Tyler. I mean, the rest of those teams that I just named are teams that I had ahead of Tyler in last month's power rankings. It was undeservingly so. I was wrong, and I owe those teams an apology. Chad, Corey, Dave, Eddie, Justin, and Bryce. I am sorry. I did not deserve to put Tyler ahead of you guys in the power rankings, and for that, I am sorry. If we take a look at our road,
All right, so you're officially off the Tyler train. I shouldn't see him anywhere near 8th in the power rankings next time.
I am officially at its next stop. I'm getting off the Tyler train with all of my luggage and not getting back on for a while. Maybe the train comes back around at some point. But man, 29.5 roto points. Has there ever been anybody this low in roto?
That's pretty damn low. I mean, it's bare minimum on every category. I don't even know if he has does he even have a category where he's got 7 points in?
He got 7.5 in saves, and he just
nice.
Just traded Jordan Romano.
Right, because remember he drafted 4 closers. That's right.
Yeah.
Okay, I remember criticizing that, and everyone's like, "Oh, trade assets." But yeah, I don't know, man. It's rough.
How is he not first in saves? He's got freaking Romano and Barlow, and then I guess he traded Gallegos, right?
And guess what? Now he's got no saves. He's got not a single closer in his So
the only category that he has more than 5 points in. He just traded away from that.
Positive side is the only way to go is up. So we'll see how much up that is. Maybe he'll hit 40 points. We'll see.
He's not really in the roto, but maybe he's head to head. He's relevant.
Yeah, I don't think anyone's. I mean, head to head goes pretty. I mean, when does head to head playoffs start? Early September, late August. I mean,
it could be late August because remember playoffs is 6 weeks because it's 3 2-week periods, so it's 6 weeks away from the end of the season.
Right.
So
we're down to what? Maybe 6 matchups left, 7 matchups left. So
I mean, we're kind of. I mean, yeah. When you think about it, head to head, I mean, this is kind of like we're almost post All-Star break mentality.
Oh, sure, definitely for head to head.
Kind of gearing up for our postseason. So yeah, kind of interesting. Yeah, I mean, Tyler's made some moves. We'll get into some of those moves. I don't hate the moves that Tyler made. I still don't really hate Tyler's team, but I just, with where he's at in the standings, with the performance, there's no denying it anymore. There's no denying that this is the worst team in the league. And I mean, as much as I might like some of the players that are on it, there's nothing there. I'm there's nothing there this year.
And he didn't help himself much in these trades, but we'll get to that.
Maybe. Oh, okay. Maybe some magic can happen in head to head. We saw Justin last year make a run and make a splash in the postseason. Let's see, how many games is he out of playoffs? So Eddie's holding on to the 6th spot now at just below 500. So at 31 wins, he's about 18 wins back, 18, 19, 20 wins back. So
that's tough. Yeah,
that's tough to make up because you got to leapfrog all those other guys too. And I know he just lost 0-10 to Peter 2 weeks ago.
Right.
But I think
instead of getting good low value contracts for next year, let's get Mike Trout. There we go.
Hey, it's hard to pass up on getting the best player in baseball.
Oh, sure.
All right, so that's kind of probably my biggest faller. I know you had him low. That's why I apologize to you, Eric. You had him 14th last time.
Yeah.
So you were right. I'm sorry. I apologize to you, Eric. You were right. I was wrong. You're smart. I'm dumb.
Oh, no.
Because you had him 14th out of 14 last time, and I had him up to 8th. So you were way more right than I was on that. And I'm sorry for building you up. I'm sorry for giving you that false confidence, Tyler. I guess I owe you an apology too. You needed to be more realistic. All right, so we're going to talk about our biggest rises and fallers. That's one of our biggest fallers, one of my biggest fallers anyway. Why don't you give me a riser that you have, Eric, that's played well last couple weeks?
Oh, mine was Bryce. Yeah,
so I thought Bryce. Okay, why don't you give me a faller then?
Mine, and it's not like I'm in panic mode by this by any means, but I'm just kind of surprised by it, is Chris's team.
Yeah.
And the thing is, when you look at Chris's categories, honestly, they're not bad. There's not a single category where he's just like awful. In ERA, he's a little bit lower than average. WHIP, he's a little bit lower than average. But like everything's right around that 9, 10, 8, 9, 7 point range. And the thing with Chris, and I think we actually mentioned it on the last pod, was that pitching has to hold until those guys come back. But Peralta, what's
It
going
didn't
on?
do that.
Yeah, what's going on with Bueller? What's going on? And they've kind of been falling apart, which is why we've actually seen Chris, which we'll again talk about soon, make some moves, which is kind of
Mhm.
uncharacteristic of Chris so far this season. So I don't know if that's a little bit of sign of panic or what, but his pitching has not held together since our last show.
Yeah, I know that Chris has fallen way down the power rank. We both had him as our number one team, and
Yeah.
it has not held up. I kicked his ass. Whoop, whoop, represent. But I mean, like some of these guys, like we kind of said, like I don't really have faith in Eric Lauer. And since then, over the last month or so, over the last 30 days, 6.59 ERA. I was like, Scooble's been okay, but I don't think Scooble's like this ace guy. Last 28 days, 5.86 ERA as well. So I mean, some of these guys that start off the year great, I just was like, I don't think that this is what these guys are. If they do keep performing the way this is, and this is a very, very scary team, getting back Freddie Peralta and Bueller and some of the other pieces that he has. If these guys can be stable for him, then he's got something scary here. But guess what? Those guys weren't stable for him. And we've seen him really falter, not only in head-to-head where he's taken losses the last couple of weeks, but also in the roto. It's really tumbled him. I mean, when last time we did the podcast, he was right up there with us. We were talking about a top four. There's a clear hierarchy. There's 4 teams here. And now you wouldn't have thought that there was a 4-team race at this time, looking at the standings this year. So it's wild. It's a 30-point gap between third place and fourth place. It is really, really wild. I did not see this coming at the start of the year.
See, I thought there was going to be a big tier differential between those 3-4 teams and everybody else. It just kind of seemed that way. There was a lot of good built teams.
Yeah. So it's definitely interesting to see if anybody can kind of crack that code in. And there's only three that place in Roto. So I mean, maybe teams that we don't expect to sell at the deadline. Maybe we have some surprise sellers that are like, you know what? The head-to-head all or nothing is just not worth it for me. I'm going to kind of sell for next year and go for Roto. I mean, if things start to keep going bad for Chris, I could see him being a seller at the deadline. I mean, if he keeps faltering and we kind of see him down 7th and 8th in Roto, and he looks at the head-to-head and goes, I'm 9th place in head-to-head, which is I think where he's at now. 9th place in head-to-head. And he's just like, I just don't really see it this year. And I don't want to go all in and try and push my chips on the table for the one head-to-head prize. I think I'm just going to sell this year and try and go all in for next year, for the following year. I mean, he could be a surprise seller. He could surprise a lot of people. I know Chad's kind of offered to sell some C contracts. Tyler's always looking to trade and some of those, but maybe have some surprise sellers this year. So we've had biggest fallers as Chris and as Tyler. There's one more faller that I want to talk about, and that faller is a guy that's in this lobby right now, Crimmy Charles. I have not been the biggest fan of Crimmy Charles's moves that he's made, the last couple moves that he's made. And I don't think they're like overly like bad moves. I don't look at them in a vacuum and go, well, that's the one trades can be pretty bad that we'll talk about. But like, I don't really look at them as being like, this is, egregious, how could you do such a thing? But when I look at Crimmy's team, I'm looking at the wrong thing here. When I look at Crimmy's team, let me pull it up here. I remember talking a month ago being like, wow, I really fear this team. I was like, when this team kind of gets firing on all cylinders and when it gets healthy, you got Jacob deGrom waiting in the wings, this rotation and this offense is set. I was afraid of it. I'm not afraid of this team anymore. And you can take that and put that on your bulletin board, Crimmy. But I look at this.
Does he not have the best rotation in the league?
No, I think it's the 3rd best rotation in the league. But I look at this offense. This offense doesn't scare me. I mean, Ronald Acuna, he needs to get healthy. I mean, that's kind of a scary thing. And without Acuna in your lineup, it obviously depletes what he's got going here. But there's just so many positions I look, Jonah Heim, Jimenez, Mountcastle, Gurriel Jr., Dylan Carlson, Jurickson Profar. Like, I'm I don't fear those guys, and those guys have all low home run numbers. Franmil Reyes, like, yeah, he can bring the pop, but he's also got a 265 on base percentage, and he strikes out a ton. I don't even know if he's going to get that on base percentage over 300 at any point this year. So like, this collection of guys offensively is very, very blah. No part of this offense scares me. And yeah, the pitching staff is good, but also Shane Bieber, who knows if he's going to stay healthy throughout the year. I'm not going to say he is, but I'm not going to say he isn't. Logan Gilbert, I would have to imagine, is on a pitch count, right? Pablo Lopez, he is got some questionable track records on if he's going to throw 200 innings. I can pretty much guarantee he's not. 180 would be a stretch, but I have questions about his arm troubles. I've long documented Alek Manoah's my concern about his inning count, although he's been very, very good. Verlander,
he's almost hit his inning count from last year.
Verlander's 39 years old. On paper, very, very good rotations. Top 3 with myself, Peter, Krim. I think the rotation is very good. He's only got one closer, but like, if your offense is going to be kind of this weak, I don't really think that this is a rotation that I'm terrified of. I don't think this rotation is not beatable. I think in the right weeks, this rotation is going to win weeks. It's going to lose weeks. I think Peter's rotation is a lot better than this with the way it's playing right now. But I have some similar concerns with Peter's rotation that we might get to here in a little bit. But also, having DeGrom is like a really big X factor. DeGrom and Chris Sale is guys where it's just like, man, when these guys are healthy and they're getting like a 3-2 strikeout to inning ratio, there was like 300 strikeout paces. Like, that's kind of what's scary, but he just doesn't really have those guys in this rotation. So, I mean,
I think you're crazy.
If you look at the strikeout numbers, I mean, who on this rotation is averaging well over a strikeout an inning?
I think the only advantage Peter has right now over Crimson is the strikeouts per inning, because I think if you matched up ERAs and you matched up whips on both pitching staffs between Peter and Krim right now, the only advantage Peter has, which is significant, is his strikeouts, but he also has such a significant lead in strikeouts that's not really something he needs at this point. But if you match up rotation to rotation, I don't see where Crimson isn't literally neck and neck outside of those strikeout numbers.
I guess the strikeouts is kind of one of those things where, and I think we're all guilty of this, maybe me more than others, where we look at strikeouts as like the flashy number where like, oh, if they don't get strikeouts, they're useless to me. But we don't look at that for whip. Like, we overlook whip because we like, oh, well, if a guy's getting good ERA, he's going to get good whip. But like, we don't think of that with strikeouts. Like, whip and strikeouts are worth the exact same number of points, or worth the same fantasy value, but we don't look at whip. Whip is kind of like runs scored. We don't really target guys in the draft or in free agency that score runs, just like we would target somebody that steals bases, so they're kind of some overlooked categories that, maybe we need to I mean, if you and to kind of back up your point, maybe you're right. Maybe I look at these ERAs and whips and go, man, I'm really overlooking these guys here and what they're doing. But
because if you look at the whip, I mean, Crimson has one dude over, in terms of actual starters, that's over a 1-1 whip. Yeah. Peter has 2, and then ERA wise, Peter's got to do to the 4 ERA in there, a 3.5 ERA in there, and Crimson, out of all his highest starter with an ERA is what? Bieber at a 3.07. I know he had throw Wells in there with a 3.34. So I don't know. I mean, I think Crimson's rotation could hold up with anybody's in the league. I don't really see any problems with it.
It's kind of, that's kind of what I was saying, right? Like, we look at Dylan Cease and we call like Dylan Cease like borderline ace, because Dylan Cease has these 121 strikeouts in 81 innings. But Dylan Cease also has a 1.23 whip. Let's take a look just at like the standings. Where does a 1.23 whip for a team?
That's probably pretty lower, isn't it? Yeah.
Go to season stats. Where is 1.23 as far as whip goes? That is like basically, what's that, 10th, 11th place?
Yeah.
So that'd be a below average whip for most teams. That would bring most teams whip down.
Right. So but obviously he's worth every penny. But yeah, I know, definitely see what you're saying for sure. Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, I mean, kind of to back up your point. Yeah, I mean, I do underrate this rotation a little bit. I think you have a point there that, maybe these ERAs and whips hold up. And this does become something where Krim is going to win ERA and WHIP every week, but I just think that ERA and WHIP can be a little unpredictable. And I think one bad performance can kind of derail
Oh,
you when you
Jesus.
think you're counting. Oh, you want to talk about one bad performance derailing your week, Eric?
Oh,
How's
two,
Jose
man.
Barrios do this weekend?
Oh, Alex Wood gave up 6 runs in 1 inning, and then Brios gave up 6 in 2 innings this week, man. My ERA was ridiculous. It was bad. Oh,
Well, I think
man.
that's maybe the thing where like Peter walks into every
Oh,
matchup going, I know I'm going to win strikeouts in this matchup, where Krim is one
rough.
Alex Wood performance or one Jose Barrios performance
Right.
away from not winning ERA and WHIP for that week because of
I
one
also think
guy.
he's got the depth too. I mean, I know we're not breaking down teams too much, but to have Flaherty and Ian Anderson, I know
I
Flaherty
don't
just
think
got
Flaherty
put.
pitches again this year.
Well, we'll see. I mean, we'll see. But it says he's eligible to return in just about a month. So
I just reoccurring shoulder injury again. It's just like, man, this guy just can't stay on the field.
right, for sure. But I think with Ian Anderson, even I know he's been a little bit of a down performer this year, and we'll talk about that trade coming up. But
Yeah.
we'll see if he can turn it around.
All right. So while we're talking about risers and fallers, we have one more riser. And the riser, I mean, we already talked about him a bunch. Here's Peter. I think Peter will, when it's all said and done, there's no denying that Peter is the best team in the league right now. He's starting to kind of pull away in Roto a little bit. The head-to-head is like not even a competition anymore. If we look at the head-to-head standings and for like the
He's
national,
gonna have a bye wrapped up soon enough. A few more
he
weeks,
pretty much
huh?
has the bye wrapped up. He's got a 20 game lead, or probably like a 17 and a half game lead for the bye. So I mean, he just beat me 2-7. So he just expanded his lead anymore, 7-2, I should say. So he just expanded his lead and head to head even more. So I mean, he's got head to head first round bye just about locked up. I mean, it's team's showing no signs of slowing down. The roto's looking good. The pitching staff is looking incredible.
And the depth is looking better, my man. That's what we've been talking about him forever. Was
He
not having
made a trade that improved his depth pretty good.
not having so many green flags, which means minor leagues, or having RP, which means relief pitcher. Because now, when you look at his depth, I mean, Peterson's pitched pretty well. Pavetta's pitched pretty well. Quintana's honestly pitched pretty decent, enough to throw in there a couple weeks here and there. So he's got the depth on pitching, and then hitting wise, he's got Glaber on his bench. He's got Vogelbach, who, you could throw in there. Garver, Eloy comes back, Tyler O'Neill. So now that the depth is finally there, which is kind of what we've been waiting on.
Yeah, that's kind of the scary thing is it's depth for injuries. So when a guy like Tyler O'Neill and Eloy inevitably get hurt like they always do, you can replace those guys and still be okay. But also it's just more trade pieces in case you want to kind of dabble into the market, because nobody is really buying on those prospects the last year or two. So just trying to kind of make sure that you're putting yourself in a
And how about McClanahan, man? Oh man, is he good?
Man, I traded him in another league. I traded McClanahan and Carlos Correa for Tyler O'Neill. How do you think I feel
Right.
about that one?
Oh man, that's tough. And McClanahan was damn good last year, but it's tough. It's tough.
Yeah.
You got to really bank on those sophomore years.
Yeah, I had McClanahan for $16 going into the offseason. I was like, oh, McClanahan, $16. I don't know. Let me see what I can get. So I traded for like an $11 Tyler O'Neill. And I was like, oh, I'll take this. I wasn't planning on keeping McClanahan, and God, do I look stupid.
Yeah. I mean, that's just, it happens, man. It happens to the best of us.
So, yeah, I mean, Peter's looking good. I mean, the pitching staff, it felt like a barrage. Like, I just felt like I was dodging bullets the entire week, just like a bombing run, just right on top of me.
Oh, it's tough, dude. It's real tough.
All that. It was like, I was going into the week, like, I have no chance. I was like, he's got 2 start pitchers left and right. Like, when the stars align for Peter and he's got those 2 start pitchers, you just don't have a chance.
It's done. Yeah.
So it's done and over.
One of my best weeks of the year was against him. I mean, it was, and I still got beat because it is what it is. Yeah.
Yeah. So Peter's showing no signs of slowing down. Team looks good. I mean, he's starting to get healthy. He's stayed healthy for the most part. I mean, even when it looks like Manny Machado has a severe foot injury, he's going to be out for a few months. Nope. He's just going to shake it off.
Good.
Not even go on the IL. So not even injuries can slow Peter down. He's looking unstoppable. So Peter's looking good. All right. Anything else? Anybody else want to point out before we jump into our trade reactions?
Well, let's start jumping into these. We got a lot to cover here. There was a lot of trades that popped up right after this last podcast. It kind of tends to happen that way, but they started popping off pretty fast. So
all right, are we gonna go front to back or back to front? We're gonna start with the most recent or the furthest back.
Totally up to you, whatever you're good with.
All right, we'll start with the furthest back because we're going to see guys changing hands a little bit here. All right, starting with T1 Walker for Anthony Benders. It's just like the biggest clear cut, like A for one, F for the other. I don't really understand what Krim was doing here. Like Anthony Bender, not only like was he shaky when he was the closer, but like at the time of this trade, Tanner Scott was available on waivers. And instead he traded T1 Walker, who's on an A contract. Was he
Yeah,
drafted? So
I
T1
believe
Walker
he's
on
on
an A
a contract.
contract, who's like an okay pitcher. He's no stud by any means, but
He's
like
doing
on
pretty
an
solid
okay
this year, yeah.
contract. Like for it was like that's why I like sent that message. I was like, is this a something for nothing trade? Like I always want to make sure at least, whether there's always going to be a winner and loser in a trade, but I want to make sure both sides get something.
Right.
One side here got nothing. What do you think, Eric?
Yeah, I mean that's kind of how it turned out, especially in Krim had Walker last year too, so he knows. But his strikeouts are a little bit down, but Walker.
Oh, did I lose Eric? I hope you guys didn't lose me. Oh, I lost internet. Shit. Whoa, are you there?
Yeah, I'm still here.
Oh, okay. I wonder if that cut out recording. I hope not.
I think we're good.
I froze there for like 30 seconds. So
Oh, you're good.
My internet went out. If it kept recording, that's something else. Okay.
It might have, yeah, I don't know. It says recording on the left, so I think we might be good, but
I wonder if it just piggybacked off your connection. That'd be pretty cool. Okay. All
that'd be
right. So do we need to repeat ourselves, do you think? Or
no, we're fine. That was a pretty quick, easy one.
okay. Yeah, not a whole lot more to say there. All right. So now we're gonna get into a block
Some of the big ones, yeah.
by Krim, where Krim sent out DeGrom, Torkelson, Matz, and Nicky Lopez for Brendan Rodgers, Jack Flaherty, Franmil Reyes, and Martin Perez. What do you make about this one?
I actually loved it for Krim. I do. I know it did give away his ace in DeGrom, which I think he could have kept. Whether he pitches an inning or not this year, I think anyone would keep him at that price next year. I think that's a good price. I know it's scary, but DeGrom's not a guy that you really have to worry about too much injury wise. But again, he is getting older, so it's a tough call. But I think Krim had a lot of leverage here, and he gave away basically Lopez, who's not a keeper, Matz, who's not a keeper, Torkelson. Unless he severely turns it around, I don't think he's being kept at $13.
Yeah, so
and he turned it
contract too, so he goes up.
Yep, exactly. And I think you get back a guy like Brendan Rodgers, who's played pretty solid this year. Flaherty, obviously, this is pre-injury, right when he was coming back. And I even think at his price, I think I keep Flaherty, even if he doesn't pitch again. It's just too much upside. Franmil Reyes can bring that pop when he can, but obviously we've highlighted his struggles a little bit. And he got Martin Perez in this deal as well. I know he kind of got lit up right before he made the deal, but a 1.96 ERA, 87 innings, 71 Ks. Perez is probably the Rangers all-star this year. So to be able to get Rodgers and Perez kind of in the short term, what is Krim missing out on here? Because DeGrom's still not playing. Torkelson's not doing anything. So really this is kind of a whole bunch of injury concerns, but Krim got guys that can play right now.
This is kind of a trade where it's almost like the price is right. It seems like where it's just like, yeah, like DeGrom is kind of the headliner, obviously, like he's the superstar. I'm kind of with you where like Nicky Lopez, Steven Matz, and Spencer Torkelson, where like I don't really think of anything of any one of those guys. Like I don't really think that any one of those guys are really assets in any way. I mean, Torkelson, you can take the swing on this year, but I don't think he's a keeper. He's got to show a lot more. He's going to really turn things around if he's going to be kept at that salary. And you can't even have him in a lineup right now. He's been that bad. Let's see what his numbers look like. He has 4 home runs, 16 RBIs, 19 runs scored, and a 284 on base percentage with 0 steals. You can't have that in your lineup right now. So he's just taking up room on your bench. So, I mean, yeah, I don't really think that either one of those guys rest. So it's really like a 4-for-1 trade when I kind of look at this.
It is. And when you look into the context of Chad for next year, him being able to kind of almost right or wrong and get DeGrom, I could see where he's coming from. But in the same breath, giving up, I know Perez is a C contract, but do you think in terms of Chad's viewpoint, if we look at this almost as a Flaherty and Rodgers for DeGrom or a Reyes, Flaherty, and Rodgers for DeGrom, in terms of Chad's probably looking at this almost as a next year moment, what do you think of that?
Yeah, I think it makes sense. And I think that, okay, Chad got the big fish. Chad got DeGrom. And, I'm a huge fan of DeGrom. I mean, so he's high. I know he's high on him. And so I think that it kind of works for both teams. Do you think that this is a move that Krim needed to make? I see him kind of sliding down the standings. Do you think that he needed to make to sell the upside in what DeGrom could be for the pieces that he got?
I don't think he needed to make the move. I don't think he needs to make a lot of moves, but he does. But the thing with it is I don't think, again, in terms of this season, this is the way I kind of look at this trade. In terms of this season, there's nothing right now that's hurt him because he gave up DeGrom, who hasn't pitched an inning yet, right? Now, if DeGrom comes back in July or whenever he comes back and starts dealing, and Krim could have been in a position to win, that's different. But in terms of a right now trade, he's got Rodgers and Perez in his lineup that are actually contributing. So in terms of what we're looking at in this season and helping this season, I do have to like it for Krim, but no, this was not a move that needed to be made.
Yeah. Yeah. So, I mean, that's kind of like what I was saying. Like, I just, with some of the moves they made, it's not that I don't like this deal. Like I said, I think it's fair value. I don't even know if I'm going to give a grade to it. It's just kind of, there's so much going on. It's hard to kind of tell what it's going to be and how things are going to pan out. But just like, I just think it took Krim's upside really far down. I'm not a huge Martin Perez fan, and we see kind of what's happening with Jack Flaherty. I just think it really kind of handcuffed his upside. But, you know, maybe we could also look at it as, hey, we criticized him last time because they had a few holes on his offense, and he kind of filled those holes with Franmil Reyes and Brendan Rodgers. And maybe he thought he was going to get more innings out of Flaherty than he was going to get out of DeGrom. So, you know, I could see why it works for him. So maybe it's just like a B trade for both teams, you know, maybe even an A- for both teams. Maybe it works for them. I just thought that it maybe kind of hindered Krimmy's upside a bit. That's why I wasn't a big fan, because I know that Krim has championship upside, and I know that he's kind of got some of the pieces there that did once upon a time scare me, but he's kind of diminished that a little bit.
Yeah. He let go of that big fish for sure.
All right. Do you want to give a grade to that?
It's tough. I would right now give it like a B plus for Krim and a B minus for Chad. Again, I think Chad is obviously looking at this as a next year move. He might hold on to Torkelson. It really just depends what 12 keepers he's going to start to come up with next year. But as of right now, I see this really as a next year move for Chad. So I can't really criticize it too much if he gets DeGrom at, what is it, $36 next year. So
yeah,
I can't criticize it too much.
Mm-hmm. All right, next trade we have Jock Peterson for Spencer Strider. Both guys on A contracts. I really like this trade for Justin more than I did for Peter. I think both sides kind of got what they needed. You know, of course, I talked my talk about Jock Peterson, and then Jock Peterson hit 3 home runs against me this week. So that kind of sucked to see. But you know, Peter had the pitching to boot, and so he traded it away to get Jock Peterson, who's been in his lineup. He's been pretty helpful. I just don't think that Jock Peterson is an everyday player. He plays maybe 5 out of 7 games a week. You know, we see that he's only got 187 at bats, while most people are up over 200 by now. And I mean, he's got 17 homers, only 39 RBIs, and 32 runs scored. For a guy that's got 17 home runs, to not have 40 runs scored or 40 RBIs is a little bit alarming. So I just don't really think that he's kind of the kind of guy that I would want to get in a package back for Strider. But if he fit the needs of his team, then I can't be too critical of the move. I just really like Strider.
Yeah, it's a tough one because obviously Peter was looking at trying to get a bat here, and he gave up a guy that he's really liked all year, that he's kind of hyped up. So I was kind of surprised when I saw this move because of how much he's hyped up Strider. The thing with Strider is he's really been useless as a fantasy player up until really recently when he's been put in the rotation, and even then I'd argue he's been kind of useless as well because he's had 6 starts. And he's only gotten 1 quality start, so he's not really going deep into ball games at all.
I've been 2/3 twice.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. Not getting those wins quality starts. So the Ks are there, the whip is there, the ERA is there. So as long as that's kind of holding out, and he's starting games, I think that makes a difference. But those first 2.5 months of the season, I mean, literally he was worthless as a fantasy player. So, but Jock Peterson, I'm kind of with you on that one. I've never been a huge Jock Peterson fan. I think this is kind of more of a anomaly than anything, a hot stretch, if you will call it. He's also hitting in San Francisco. He's a lefty. He's not going to play against lefties. Yep. So I see where this move made sense for both, but overall, I mean, Strider on an A contract, I think you got to like the upside there.
Yeah, I'm gonna give it an A plus for I'm gonna give it an A plus for Justin. I'm gonna give it a B minus for Peter, just because I think it did help his team. So I'm not going to go below a C. So I think it was helpful for his team. I just didn't love the player. I thought he could have got the value.
Mm-hmm.
All right, next we have another trade.
Ooh, big one. Another big one.
Probably won't be the last. Was between Krim and Bryce, where Krim traded away Gallegos, Martin Perez, and Nick Castellanos, and got back Dylan Carlson, Ryan Mountcastle, and Justin Verlander.
Yeah. I think Krim cleaned house on this one. I really do. I think he gave up Gallegos, who's a closer, but Perez has been great.
Part-time
Castellanos,
closer.
what's that?
The part-time closer.
Yeah, part-time closer because Halsey's taken over. And then he gives up Perez again. I know it's tough to wager A and C contracts because I'm sure Bryce is looking at it like, hey, I'm getting Perez, who's an all-star, which is true, 100%.
Yeah.
But it's also a C contract. So Krim also gave up Castellanos in this one, who's kind of not been the Castellanos of old by any means, really. I mean, home runs are way down, RBIs are down, OBP's massively down, everything's down for Castellanos this year, and he got to get back Mountcastle, who's having a pretty solid season. He'd be in
a way better year than Castellanos is.
Definitely. Dylan Carlson's kind of that high upside guy that we'll see what happens when he can finally get rolling. And then to get an ace back, I mean, I think that was worth it almost in itself by getting Justin Verlander back. He turned basically DeGrom into Verlander, and Verlander's pitching right now, and DeGrom's not. So that's why when we were looking at Krim's rotation, I was like, I think if anything, you could argue it looks more scary because DeGrom's out, Verlander's pitching for him. I mean, I love this move for Krim.
Yeah, I think that Dylan Carlson isn't much of an asset at this point, and I think that Mountcastle and Castellanos are just about a wash this year. I still like Castellanos obviously better than Mountcastle. I think that he's going to finish the year strong. So really, it's like Martin Perez and Gallegos for Verlander, and I mean, obviously, Krim comes out victorious if you look at it like that.
Sure.
So yeah, I mean, I think that Krim did what he needed to do, and if Krim wants to build his team around having the solid rotation that he does, and Verlander is going to kind of get him to that point, then I like the deal. I don't like Verlander's salary for being the age that he is. Who knows if he's even going to pitch next year? So you almost look at Verlander as almost a C contract. Who knows if he's going to be on the bump next year? So I mean, that could.
You think he's going to retire, huh?
I'm not saying that he is
at the top of his game.
We don't know that he is. We don't know that he isn't. So no guarantee that he comes back next year. So we'll see. I mean, yeah, I think that I like it for Crimmy. What do you feel for Bryce?
Man, it's one of those moves again by Bryce where he hangs in there. It's not it's one of those things where it's not an awful move. Again, you're getting an all-star pitcher in Perez. You're getting a hopefully returning all-star in Castellanos. But like you said, Mountcastle's giving you Castellanos' production right now and more.
Yeah.
So again, to just give up, I mean, let's just say Castellanos and Mountcastle are a wash, right?
Yeah.
Gallegos isn't the starter. Carlson's not doing anything. If you almost break it down to a Perez for Verlander deal,
yeah,
it's obvious who the winner is here. And that's what makes it kind of a little head scratching for Bryce. It does, but I'm sure he's hoping for Castellanos to bounce back.
Castellanos refines his form. We would look at it completely different because
you keeping him at $25
regresses to his mean, and frickin' Castellanos regresses to his mean, then we're looking at Castellanos hitting 25 more home runs this year, and Mountcastle and hitting in that shitty Baltimore ballpark only hitting 8 the rest of the year. And then we might look at this trade a little bit differently, especially if Martin Perez keeps this up too. I don't think I don't think Martin Perez is that good, but I also don't think that Verlander is going to keep doing his thing the rest of the year. I think that he's old. He's going to get tired. I think he's down a little bit. I think that all the metrics would support that he's not really the pitcher that he is on paper right now.
This is his best ERA he's ever had.
Yeah, I don't think that Justin Verlander is all of a sudden 39 years old and just going to be sporting a 2.22 ERA and a 0.87 whip for the rest of the year, especially when he's not really striking guys out, only 84 strikeouts in 89 innings. So, this isn't the typical Verlander where we used to see him striking out 100 batters in only 75 innings. This is a new Verlander. And I just don't think that he's the ace that people think that he is on paper. So, I mean, I give Crimmy, you have to give Crimmy an A. Getting Verlander, I know I just got done shitting on him, but hey, you can't argue with what he's done so far. He's played like an ace. So, hey, that is what it is, and didn't really have to give up a whole lot of. I can't say that he didn't have to give up a lot. Martin Perez pitched like a stud, and Nick Castellanos. I don't know. I'll give Crimmy an A-. I'll give Bryce a C-.
Yeah, I think that's fair.
All right, Kyle Schwarber. From Phil, Kyle Schwarber and Miles Straw to Bryce for Xander Bogaerts and Ryan Helsley. And I had some very critical comments to this at the time because I was like, looking at this on paper, just, Xander Bogaerts for Kyle Schwarber and Miles Straw, like that might be okay. Then just to throw in Ryan Helsley is like a completely another story. And like it just didn't really make sense. The value just didn't really line up. You know, I'd take Bogaerts over Schwarber, and then I'd take Helsley over Miles Straw. And I was like, I don't really get this trade for Bryce at all. But I kind of need to eat my foot a little bit here because Kyle Schwarber has been great, and Xander Bogaerts hasn't really done much of anything. So am I wrong about this? Do we need to put this in a different scope? Why are you giving me that look?
Why do you define Xander Bogaerts hasn't done anything? What are you saying he hasn't done anything?
Okay, since the trade, let's see here. In the last 14 days, 0 home runs. I guess.
Oh, you're looking at since the trade. Okay, I thought you were looking at his 400 on base percentages. You know, on pace for 100 runs.
This trade was made on June 12th. So here we are, the 27th. So about 15 days. And in those 15 days, 0 home runs, 4 RBIs, but a very high on base percentage. So, I mean,
that's Xander for
Phil
you, right?
Phil doesn't need the home runs. So he just needs the on base percentage. So it's worked out for him. Obviously, we knew it was going to work out for him. I mean, this trade made way too much sense for him. I mean, is this A+ for Phil or what?
I think it's pretty damn close to it, especially like, again, this is where we give Bryce shit, but I mean, we just have to. Bryce got Gallegos and then traded Halsey.
Yeah.
I mean, it's just the next day. I mean, it's just again. Bryce, I don't understand it, man. I just don't get it. Why not hold on to both for a week and see who really is the? I just don't. I don't know. I think Straw is kind of a wash. I don't think many people are starting Straw. I mean, some people might for the
in one category, and he actively hurts you in 4 of the 5 categories. He hurts you in, I guess, doesn't hurt you in runs.
Runs is maybe another
but
iffy,
he kills you. He's got 8 RBIs on the year and 0 home runs. That is a killer.
That's killer. Yeah, it almost washes out the other two, honestly. So, I mean, like you said, you can almost,
if he's going to be in your lineup, he better steal 40 bases. If he's going to have 0 home runs and 8 RBIs, he needs to be Juan Pierre and steal 40 bases, not 11 bases almost halfway through the year. That's only like a 25 stolen base pace.
Yeah, and that's why I don't even look at Straw as like a startable asset at this point. So I mean, like you said, it's pretty much Helsley and Bogaerts for Schwarber, and I don't think you're wrong in thinking that Phil got a really good deal here, because I think so too. He was able to give away Schwarber, who he doesn't even have to start every week. There's been a couple of weeks he just has him on his bench because he has so much offense, and he got Xander Bogaerts. I think Schwarber and Bogaerts are both keepers. I'm not saying they're not, but to be able to get that upside of Bogaerts from Bryce, who's a Red Sox, I think still a Red Sox fan, but 3.99. I mean, Xander's just the model of consistency, and he's only a couple years removed from 30 home runs. So I like this move a lot for Phil.
Yeah, I gotta go A+ for Phil. I'm gonna go. I'm gonna go
plus B-. I'm
gonna go another C- for Bryce.
Yeah, it's tough.
The value is terrible. I don't know why you gave up Xander Bogaerts. I mean, it's weird. I don't understand it. I thought he was your guy. I could maybe just preemptively trading him so you avoid the heartbreak of him leaving in free agency. You see, trade him first, but the value.
I love him on the Cubs,
and it's I can't give it like a D because Schwarber has been awesome. I mean, in the last 14 days since this trade, he's got 5 home runs, 12 RBIs, and 13 runs scored, and that's 14 days. In the last 2 weeks, 13 runs in 14 days. I mean, that's wild.
Look at the last 30 days, 11 home runs. I mean, there's no doubt that if that's what Bryce needs, he's getting it 100%. But it's just weird. Like, I could have even understood, like you said, more Bogaerts for Schwarber straight up. I need the power. I need the RBIs. I need the on base. Cool, settled. But to throw in closers don't come cheap nowadays, and to throw in a closer like that is tough.
Yeah, I mean, and Bryce would have had then what's the guy from who's the closer for the Indians?
Cias or whatever. Yeah, Emmanuel, Class A.
Yeah. So I mean, to have Class A and Helsley, that's like a good 1-2 closer duo, and then to just kind of undo that and now have Gallegos, who is kind of you don't really want to put in your lineup because you can get maybe 1 save per week as a part-time closer. I mean, I don't think you can really play Gallegos right now.
No,
his ratios haven't really been all that good either. So yeah, it's something that didn't really make sense. So yeah, I'll give an A+ to Phil, and it's another C- to Bryce. All right, next we have Jose Altuve, who was later to be moved for Carbone Hayes and Scott Barlow. I know that Dave needed a closer. He got one in Barlow, and I know he's high on Carbone Hayes. The underlying numbers for Carbone Hayes looking good. He's hitting the ball hard. He's stealing some bases. He's not going to be hopefully kept at that salary, but who knows? David surprised us before. I mean, I think it's a pretty fair trade. I mean, I'm obviously Altuve is the best player in the deal. But those are two quality pieces. I think it's a fair deal.
It's not too bad. I do like this one for Tyler more because I think Altuve is beating Cabrian Hayes in almost every single offensive category.
Not stolen bases.
Oh no, not stolen bases with
Eight,
the
eight
eight.
steals for Brian Hayes, and I think 5 for Altuve.
Yeah. So I mean, he's pretty much beating him in every single category possible. I mean, Altuve the last few years he's pretty much been close to a 30 home run bat with a pretty high on base percentage. So it's a tough go there to just kind of give him up for Hayes on a higher contract on all those things. Barlow, man, you got to hope the Royals are in games because man, I've had Tanner Rainey in as my closer for Washington some weeks, and there's been a couple times where he's thrown up a big old goose egg for saves on the week. So it's tough. It's just
in trades too. I mean,
yeah,
the Royals are already kind of starting their fire sale early today by trading away Carlos Santana. It's only a matter of time before Scott Barlow gets traded to the Padres to be their setup guy or their seventh
it's
inning
possible unless they got a lot of years of control left on him. I don't know, but yeah, I mean it's a tough get there. I think like you said, it's pretty even, but I think I'd still rather be on Tyler's end with the Altuve pickup.
Typically I side with the team that's getting the best player in the deal, and that's no different here. So I'll give an A to Tyler, and I'll still give like a B+ to Dave. I think his team probably got better with this deal by adding that second closer.
Yeah.
And especially with his, it might even be his first closer. Does he have a second closer? Because I know he's got Chapman. Yeah, and I don't think Chapman's the closer anymore. So I think he really needed to find that. Oh, he's got David Robertson.
Yeah, Robertson's been great for him. Yeah.
So I don't know why he's putting Chapman in his lineup over Robertson. Robertson's only got 9 saves on the year. Wow, it felt like more than that. Oh, that shows what I know. How many Cubs games have you watched in the last few weeks, Eric?
Oh, dude, I honestly almost catch every one. I got them up on my
Really
computer
still?
all the time. Oh yeah,
I
dude.
cap to you. You are a true fan.
Honestly, out of all 160 games, dude, I probably watch I'd say at least 100 of them. Yeah.
I'm proud of you, kid. You're a
Thanks,
diehard.
man.
Nobody does it harder than you.
Thanks, man.
All right. Next we have Peter taking our advice, make another splash, trading away Patino and Ashby. So we traded away Strider, Patino, and Ashby.
Yeah, man.
Got back Jock Peterson and Max Muncy.
Is there Jock Peterson on my screen? I only see Muncy.
No, I just mean all together. If you include
okay, I see what you mean. Okay.
The Strider for Jock, I just meant. So trading away Patino and Ashby for Muncy. I like this trade. I mean, truth is, I talked. I think I talked Tyler into this trade. I think I negotiated this trade for Tyler. Yeah, I actually like this trade a lot for Tyler. I would give this trade an A for Tyler. I don't even know if Max Muncy's good at this point. If you would look at Max Muncy's numbers,
it's been awful this year.
5 homers, 20 RBIs, 26 runs scored, 162 average. No, you're not going to get stolen bases, and a 328 on base percentage. At least, he draws a lot of walks and all that. But I mean, Andy's got $18-19 salary. And that's going to be like 24.
He's got more walks than he does hits. That's pretty bad.
So, I mean, yeah, I think that Tyler and Ashby's a $1 A. So that's like the deluxe A that you always want. And Patino, you're high on Patino. So those are 2 guys that I really like, 2 young pitchers that have a lot of potential. And he may not even have had to trade away a keeper to get those 2. So I really like this. I'll give Tyler an A+. Peter, I'll give a C- too on this. I mean, I just don't think Max Muncy's good. I think he could have done a lot better. I think his team probably still got better, but could have done better.
Yeah, I almost wish I got it on that talk because I feel like I could have offered up a better hitter than Muncy at that point. But yeah, Patino and Ashby. I mean, you can't go wrong there. I mean, for a team that's probably out of it, and it's just you got to say it. Tyler's picking up 2 guys that I would just throw in as keepers right now. I mean, Ashby's a guy. ERA's been a little bit higher ever since he got into that starting role, and kind of like Strider, 8 games started, 1 quality start, but those Ks look nice. Again, we do got to be a little wary of Strider and Ashby's Ks because they are coming out of the bullpen, so they were really gassing it up coming out of that bullpen. But Patino as well, like I said, I think you're looking at 2 guys that you can kind of be like, you know what? I'm not in it this year, but let me throw a couple keepers onto next year. I like this move a lot for Tyler. I'd give him an A for this, and Peter C-, D+, but I know he needed that offensive depth. But you really got to hope Muncy turns it around because they have so much talent over in LA that if he continues to struggle this poorly, they'll just have someone else play. I mean, that's simple as that.
They got a couple prospects that are waiting, that are chomping at the bit to get some of that Max Muncy playing time. Next, we have a trade with you and Justin Ranger Suarez for Robbie Grossman. What are you thinking here?
This was a, Justin kind of came out and said he needed an outfielder this week. I actually kind of forgot I was playing him. So we actually made a swap this week where I traded him Grossman. He threw him right in his lineup. I really liked Grossman heading into the year. Maybe his last year's home runs were an anomaly, and they're kind of proving to be an anomaly because he was a 2020 guy last year with a 360 on base percentage. So I was really high in Robbie Grossman heading into this year, and I feel like I got him on a good $10 contract, but it just hasn't panned out. He just hasn't been that guy he was last year. And I got Suarez, and this was totally kind of an upside move. He's an A contract. If he continues to improve, I'm cool with it. I'll hold on to him. I'm not necessarily throwing him in my lineup, but I kind of just like this as like a pitch the rest of the year and maybe you're a keeper move for me.
Yeah, I mean, I think it fit the need of both teams. I think both teams just get like a B. I think that you wanted to take the swing on the pitcher and Justin wanted to take the swing on the hitter. Justin needed the hitter. You preferred the pitcher, and they're both very similar guys. Both two guys that had very good years last year, who have had disappointing first halves of this year, both in the similar salary range, both on A contracts. I mean, this is kind of like the perfect trade for both
Yeah.
teams. Get fit, doing what they wanted. Don't need to be too complex about it. Just a quick, easy 1-for-1. Nicely done.
0 words spoken. I just sent it, accept, nice and easy. No grinding teeth on that one.
Yeah, we've grinded teeth on a few deals. All right, next we have Brendan Rodgers for Nicky Lopez and Frank Schwindel.
Grim can't get away from Nicky Lopez.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know why he keeps getting moved around. I don't know why people keep valuing Nicky Lopez, and he gets traded. He's going to be traded once again once we get to the top of this list. Why people keep looking at Nicky Lopez as like a fantasy contributor?
He's rostered in 39% of leagues. Like he's not even rostered in half of Fantrax
200 at bats. So like he has no IL stints or anything. He's been healthy all year. 200 at bats. He had 0 homers, less RBIs than Miles Straw, less stolen bases than Miles Straw, 5 stolen bases, and a 283 on base percentage. What at all is Nicky Lopez providing in fantasy at all? He's not helping you in one category. Not a single category is Nicky Lopez helping you. Yet somehow people just keep trading for him. And Frank Schwindel, is he on a C contract or is he still an A contract?
I'm not too sure, but he hasn't been too impressive this year either. He's barely owned in half of leagues either. So
yeah. So I don't really understand this. So I mean, so it looks like Chad getting Brendan Rodgers for 2 nobodies. Congratulations, Chad. Nice job.
I like this one for Chad.
A+ for Chad, F for Crim.
Yeah, I like this one a little bit more for Chad, just simply because Brendan Rodgers, I would argue that he's almost unstartable in fantasy based on the numbers he's put up, but at least you can look at him, I would say, as an asset, while the other ones just aren't right now. I think you could argue Rodgers at a cheap price on a team like Chad's could be kept, but Schwindel and Lopez, I don't know. Schwindel had like a little hot streak for about 4 games and went back to being his usual self. So
yeah, what's Brendan Rodgers' salary? It's like a $4 B, right? Something like that.
I want to say, yeah, it's pretty cheap.
I mean, keep him for 9 is brutal. You don't keep guys that don't really contribute much anything for $9. So I don't know.
It's a tough one. It could be a wash.
Nothing for nothing. Maybe it's a wash, but I still think that, I mean, Schwindel is waiver wire fodder and Nicky Lopez shouldn't be anywhere near a fantasy roster at this point. No. I don't get why people just keep trading for him. So yeah, kind of a head scratcher there. I don't really understand it.
We got the big one next. All right. Oh God.
Oh man, the 3-team 12-player trade involving Tyler, myself, and Justin. This one's hard to follow online because it doesn't do a good job of just saying
going in
who
order,
got rid of what and who got what. So I don't even know how to analyze this. Just want to go team by team. I guess I'll go myself first.
Let's look at team by team and see what you got, what you gave up.
I gave up Ty France, Christian Walker, Framber Valdez, and Michael Harris. So those 4 players, you can see them right here. Ty France on a $1 contract will be 6 next year. Super high on base percentage guy, scores runs, hits home runs, drives an RBI. He's not going to help you in speed, but really moves the needle in on base percentage. This year where am I here? This year he's got a 390 on base percentage. He hits in the heart of that line. He'd be 2nd or 3rd for Seattle. And on a great contract, 45 RBIs, 32 runs scored. You'd think he'd score more runs, but I guess Seattle's bottom half of that lineup, Julio Rodriguez just keeps leaving him on base, I guess. Doesn't know how to drive him in. So I mean that likes him. Justin really likes him for $1, technically $6 next year. Christian Walker going to Justin. Christian Walker's got 19 home runs this year, 38 RBIs on a C contract. Framber Valdez, another guy, $1 going to be $6 next year. He's got 11 straight quality starts. I wanted to get rid of him because I thought he would be like a higher whip guy. And then the more he just kept pitching well, the more I'm like, shit, well, his whip is actually better than I thought. Just a guy that just goes out, throws 6-7 innings and strikes out 5 or 6 and gets you a quality start pretty much every time out. And then Michael Harris just kind of a throw-in, but he's shown some really good flashes of low power speed combo playing every day in a good Atlanta lineup. Those guys are tough to give up, but can't argue with the haul that I got back. And Jose Altuve at second base, Sterling Marte, Luis Patino, and Randall Grichuk. For me, obviously speed was a huge need. So getting Sterling Marte was a guy that I've had my eye on for a long time now, as a guy that can really move the needle and stolen bases for me. Altuve is a guy who wouldn't want Altuve as their second baseman. And then Patino and Grichuk were just kind of guys that I wanted as throw-ins. I felt like giving up the value that I was in the really cheap assets that I thought in Ty France and in Framber Valdez. I thought that those were like $15, $20 players that I had for $6. So I felt like I was giving up a lot of value to kind of take back the bigger contracts. Altuve is a $20 guy going on 25. Marte is a $20 guy going on 25. So just wanted a few cheaper guys to balance it out. So that's why I wanted Grichuk, who was a $1 A, and Patino, who's a $6 A. How do you think I did?
I think you gave up a little too much on this one. I think I really do. I think France, when you really compare France and Altuve, what's the difference?
Really, there's not much.
There's really not much of a difference. Really. Yeah, and that's a tough one. Valdez, you know me, I've been trying to nab Valdez off you for a while, and again with his contract and how great he's pitching, and it's not like this is an anomaly. This is a guy that we've kind of been waiting to be in the rotation for a couple of years now, and last year he pitched really well. This year he's pitching really well. It's tough to give up that those two guys. I mean that is tough. And my thing is Michael Harris. I know he's a C contract, and who knows if he continues. But really, what
stolen bases I needed?
What's the difference between him and Marte right now? Because Marte, he's not young, and I know we're a year removed, so I'm not going to throw up the huge panic button. We're a year removed from him stealing 47 bases, but his numbers, stolen base wise and OBP wise, are really down this year. Like really, really down. I mean, he's on pace for not even 25 steals, and he had almost 50 last year. So I understand you're going for the names and more of like that consistency, but I'll tell you what, there's part of me that would rather have France and Valdez than Altuve and Marte.
Yeah, that's kind of what put it. And that was kind of brought to me as a 2 for 2 is what they were kind of trying to iron out as we were ironing this. And I was just like, it's a 2 for 2. That's too much value for me to give up. I think that the difference between Altuve and France is negligible. I think it's just the only difference is really runs scored versus RBIs. France is the RBI guy. Altuve is the runs scored, but home runs and on base percentage and stolen bases, it's pretty negligible for the most part. So I don't think there's a big difference there. But yeah, I mean, you might be right. I do have some fears about Marte, but kind of desperate for speed. And Harris is a guy that wasn't really going to crack my lineup. I had him in there because he had a 7-game week this week, but he's not a guy that's going to really crack my lineup over some of the guys that I got. So I just he's more of a throw-in. And I even texted Tyler last night. I was going, man, I think I'm going to regret that Michael Harris throwing him in there because
let's not just gloss over Christian Walker either. I mean, I know he was on the waivers for a long time this year. There was even multiple times I thought about picking him up. I will give you props. You dealt 2C contracts into some assets, but Christian Walker's on pace for 40 home runs.
Yeah, he's been good. I hope he continues to hit for Justin.
Yeah, I mean the OBP is definitely not there. It's never going to be there. But I mean, like I said, we're almost at the halfway point. He's got 19 home runs right now. Is he going to get 100 ribbies? Probably not. Is he going to score 80 runs? Maybe not. But to just get a 40 home run bat, that's not a bad little pickup there. So I don't think this is a bad trade for you by any means. I still think overall I'd almost look at it as kind of a parallel move, but you really need Marte to get going. And really the hidden asset in this, I think, is the Patino, because if Luis Patino on that contract really comes into Tampa and is that top prospect, that could be huge.
All right, who do you want to go after next?
Let's do Justin's side.
All right, so Justin gave up Mike Pike Trout,
Yeah.
Drew Rasmussen, and that was it. Those two, and he got back Tyler Anderson, Jeremy Pena, Christian Walker, Ty France. What'd you think?
I think he did awesome. To get Ty France, keeper, I think to get um Jeremy Pena, I was pretty surprised Tyler included Pena. When I kind of broke down this trade, I don't know how close it was or what names needed to be involved or this and that, but
There was
Jeremy
a toss up
Pena,
between him and Tim Anderson on who we were going to include in there.
man, and that's oof, I don't know. To give up Jeremy
I
Pena
have
is
thoughts
tough.
on Jeremy Pena.
Yeah, but he's played 55 games. So the 54 mark is the 1/3 of 162, right? So let's just pretend if we're going to do the 1/3 game, he's a 27 home run, 80 RBI, 18 steal guy.
Mm-hmm.
And he's a rookie.
If
Who
the
knows?
home runs keep up, yeah. I guess my concern would be I just don't know. Is Jeremy Pena gonna hit 20 home runs? And is he gonna hit 20 and is he gonna steal 20 bases? Is he more of like an 18-18 guy, or is he more of like a 25-10 guy? Because if he's like a 23 home run, maybe like 12 stolen base guy, which is kind of almost what he is, maybe like 15 stolen base, like that's almost kind of like Andres Jimenez, where like, okay, maybe we're overblowing this guy a little bit just because he's young and because he's on the Astros. What is this guy's real offensive potential? And I think I've already asked you that once this year. I think early in the year, I was like, who this Jeremy Pena guy, like, is he actually good?
Yeah. And that's the thing. And that's what we're going to have to find out is, him being such a young rookie shortstop, it's going to be kind of a wait and see game. But
Okay,
I think,
here come my Juan Soto offers.
are they popping in now?
Oh yeah, here we go.
But
Oh,
to, for, But to also get Tyler, sorry, but to also get Tyler Anderson in it, I think as well for Justin. And Justin's not out of it by any means. I mean, he's still fighting for the head-to-head. He's still so to get a guy like Tyler Anderson, who you could argue was the best pitcher on the Dodgers until a couple starts ago, and then also be able to get a keeper in Pena. I think it was good. I also Ty France, I think another keeper there. There's part of me that still thinks, man, maybe he could have gotten a little bit more for a guy like Trout. But to get guys this season, France, Walker, Pena, and Anderson, I think that's a pretty good haul.
Justin doesn't typically have the patience to play for next season. Justin's always playing for this season.
Right.
He'll trade for the C contracts. He'll take the swing until he's all the way out. So we'll see how it pans out for him. You always feel bad, always leaves a bad taste in your mouth whenever you trade a guy like Mike Trout away. It's tough to kind of fill that void, but yeah. I think you got some serviceable guys back. Unfortunately, tough to see the break of Ty France getting injured like an hour after this trade gets.
Yeah, it doesn't seem like it's going to be as bad as we thought, though, which is good.
Yeah, hopefully for him, for his sake, for my sake. So I got him in like 2 or 3 other leagues as well.
Yeah.
So, and then so Tyler, you didn't like this deal for Tyler. Tyler gave up a lot of pieces, but I mean, Tyler got back a lot of guys back, and I mean, he got back Framber Valdez, who you were gushing about. He got Michael Harris back, who you were a fan of. He got who else did he get? Mike Trout and Drew Rasmussen. I like some of the pieces that he got in return.
Oh no.
Why? What do you think?
We're both under the agreement that he's done, right? I mean, he's not winning Roto. Head to head, you already said he's 18 games back, right? So the thing for me is I don't understand these moves if these are next year moves. I just don't understand it because you're giving up an all-star in Altuve, an all-star in an all-star in Marte, maybe an all-star in Pena. And you're getting this big old contract back in Mike Trout. That's going to be a C contract next year. That's going to be what, $50? Yes, he's the best player in baseball. We can say that all day, but I don't think he's the best fantasy player. We can say he's the best baseball player. But
I'll let you finish.
I just don't understand if Tyler was like in the hunt and in the playoff race and in the Roto, like 80, 85 points, if he was around a 500 record, I think this move would make a hell of a lot more sense. But really, I mean, does Trout overstep the production that he's going to get back from Marte and Altuve? And then he also threw in Jeremy Pena. That's a lot to give up, dude. And I mean, that's and to see, yeah, you got Trout back, you got Drew Rasmussen back. I'm not against Tampa Bay pitchers, but he's never thrown 80 innings in his career, like ever. And yes, his ERA has been fine throughout his career. He's had good little numbers here and there, but I'm not going to sit here and act like Drew Rasmussen's some big piece when he's never even pitched 100 innings. So yes, you got Mike Trout back, but he gave up a lot for that. I mean, how do you get I don't know. It's a lot, man. Patino, Young, Marte, Altuve. You're even talking about Marte and Altuve's contracts next year. And knowing you, maybe you don't keep them, but I think a lot of people keep Altuve and Marte on those contracts next year.
Yeah, the way that I would justify it is he gave up quite a bit of salary in the deal to take on a lot of salary in Mike Trout. But if you look at his rotation, and we'll talk about the trade he's made here in a little bit, but he's got some cheap pitchers now in Framber Valdez, in Nestor Cortez, and we'll talk about it in a bit, but in Mackenzie Gore and Zach Plesac and Aaron Ashby for $1. All those guys are all really like dirt cheap, not even like cheap like 10, 12. Like Cortez is 3 next year. Gore is 1 next year. Plesac is 1 next year. Valdez is 6 next year. Ashby is 1 next year. McGill is 7.
So why did he need Valdez?
So that opens up the door for him to take on big hitting salaries, which makes sense for him to take on Mike Trout's because he can afford Mike Trout's $50 salary next year. He can afford the $34 Pete Alonso salary. He'll be able to afford, say, a Suzuki, and he'll even be able to afford anybody else. He'll have some money to throw around an auction to fill out the offense and fill out closer. So I kind of like it in that respect. And I think it makes sense. I mean, if you don't view Trout at $50 as a keeper with his injury history, I kind of get it. You know, we'll see if Trout eclipses 550 at-bats this year or if he doesn't, but that's jury's kind of still out on that. We'll kind of have to see. I don't know. I agree with you. I think there's a lot of assets that he gave up. I know he jokes about getting bent over backwards by the deal, but I think he did get quite a few pieces back. And who knows what he can turn Mike Trout into? I mean, guys are going to line up for Mike Trout. If he wants to deal Mike Trout, I know he said that he's not done dealing, that nobody's untouchable. I mean, maybe he turns Mike Trout into some good young cheap bats somewhere. I mean, what could Peter offer for Mike Trout? I mean, talk about a guy that would make a lot of sense to be able to push some chips into the table for.
Right.
For Mike Trout, but I don't.
My thing is, I just don't, and I know the Valdez and this and that. I just don't think Trout eclipses Pena, Marte, and Altuve. Like that's a lot. That really is. And I guess the question mark is Pena. Does he keep it up? But we know Altuve and Marte are all-star caliber players. And literally what is Altuve's contract and Marte's contract? Do they equal Trout's next year? Are they both 20? I want to say Altuve and Marte are right around the same price.
Altuve is 18. He'll be 23 next year. Marte will be 25 next year.
So literally those two make up the price of Trout, right? Yeah. Just right in there in itself. And I mean, if you put those two numbers together, I mean, I think they beat Trout, but I know you can't always look at it in that respect, but he also gave it Pena, and Tyler Anderson. So it just seemed like he gave up a lot.
Yeah. Yeah. And it's Trout and it's whoever places their spots in the lineup. So for Tyler, it's going to be maybe Joey Gallo going in his lineup. Maybe it's Juan Yepez going.
Michael Harris needs to be off his team fast because again, that's someone that doesn't help him. Michael Harris, again, if he was 79, 80 roto points, if he was in it, that move makes sense. But right now you got a C contract on a 30-point roto team and really 20 games out head-to-head team. So Michael Harris, he needs to be, who wants to see trying to get something back? I don't know, but it's tough.
Yeah. So you don't like this trade. So you're going to give Tyler D what?
I don't think it's awful because I mean, obviously you're getting Trout, you're getting Valdez, but overall I'd say like a C-, for Tyler here.
Okay, grades for Justin.
I would give Justin an A-, and I'd give you a B.
All right. So then we go on to trades that happened up to, that was what, a day ago?
Yeah.
This trade seems like it happened longer or sooner rather than that. On the
3 days
24th,
ago, yeah.
Justin Turner for Eric Hosmer and Nicky Lopez.
Oh, there he is again.
Yeah, Crimmy popping back up. Not a fan of this deal at all for Justin. Eric Hosmer hasn't been good since that first week of the year. I mean, 6 home runs, 32 RBIs, 27 runs. I feel like Eric Hosmer had like 5 home runs and 20 RBIs after like the first week, and then he hasn't done anything since. And then I don't have to talk anymore about how my disdain for Nicky Lopez and Justin Turner. Yeah, I mean, his numbers aren't there, but he also is Justin Turner, professional baseball player, professional hitter. I traded Justin Turner because I didn't believe in him, and then I criticized Justin for not believing in Justin Turner. So I kind of talking out of both sides of my mouth there, but He always said that Justin Turner would typically turn things around late in summer and second half of the year, but he lost his patience and traded him away.
Yeah, this is really a who do you believe in more move because again, we can kind of write Lopez off, but this is more of a Hosmer or Turner. Who do you believe in more in? I would put the money on Turner in that lineup with his past success than Hosmer. So that's kind of the way I look at it.
Yeah, certainly. I'm going to give Justin a D here. I'll give Crimmy a B. I don't know if
Yeah.
Justin Turner will actually end up helping you. Maybe he'll put him in your lineup. He'll hurt you more than he'll help you, but I'd rather have Turner over any of those guys, obviously.
Yeah.
And I don't want Hosmer or Lopez on my team, and not even on my bench.
Yep. No, I agree.
Big trade between Eddie and Tyler's 8 players involved, 5 going to Tyler, 3 going to Eddie. Eric, I can't figure out if this trade is a win-win or if this trade is a lose-lose. What do you think?
I think this is where Tyler really starts making the turnaround. I think this is where Tyler is kind of impressing me a little bit. And this is where I really hope Tyler does not fudge it up from here because I think he got Buxton, Riley Green, and Gore. You want to talk about kind of being able to hold on to Trout and not having to worry about that $50 tag. Getting Buxton, Green, and Gore was a huge get. Again, and if Tyler's kind of I don't want to say punting this season, but if we're going to use that word and he can get rid of Manaea was on a good contract, so he would have been a keeper. But if you can get rid of Tim Anderson, who, $25 next year, I think he's a keeper, but that's a bigger deal. But I think for the most part, he's probably a keeper there, but I don't think it's 100% awesome value. He gave up Romano, which obviously, again, that's his one spot of grace there. But I think Tyler did really well here. Getting Gore for $1, getting Riley Green, who is a top 5 prospect in baseball, and I mean, very, very small sample size, has done a decent job so far in Detroit. But Byron Buxton, I know we've had the countless conversations on him, but this is a guy that, again, at that price, how do you not love him even if he plays 120 games? So I love it. I love what Tyler was able to do here.
I disagree. The thing about this trade, the thing that's like most glaring in what I see about this trade is that I think Eddie traded 5 maybes for 3 sure things. I know that when Jordan Romano, Tim Anderson, and Sean Manaea are on the field, I know exactly what I'm getting. Yeah, their salaries are a little bit higher, but I think those are 3 guys that are in 14 out of 14 teams lineups in this league. He's getting 3 starters back. And those are 3 players that will definitely help Eddie's team. I like the deal for Eddie. And what did Eddie have to give up? He gave up $1 Mackenzie Gore. Are we sure that Mackenzie Gore is good? Because I'm hearing some things that his mechanics are off again and that his velocity is down. His off-speed isn't looking good. And he hasn't pitched well the last few weeks. I'm not quite sure. And over the last 30 days, he's got a 5.18 ERA and a 1.6. Are we sure that Mackenzie Gore is good?
Let me tell you this. Mackenzie Gore is better than Sean Manaea right now.
No, that is not.
Yes, I mean the numbers are there. Sean Manaea in his career, and he's the model of consistency. Sean Manaea is the model of consistency. He's a great price, but Sean Manaea's career is a 4 ERA with a 1.2 WHIP.
He's got a 3.86 ERA and a 1.
Oh, okay, my bad.
WHIP.
So a 3.9 WHIP and a literally 1.200 WHIP, basically 1.199 WHIP, and he doesn't even average. Right now this year he averages a strikeout in innings, so that's valuable, especially at his price. But where does Gore not? Where is Gore doing worse in any category?
Okay, well, Mackenzie Gore,
better ERA.
Was a questionable guy who couldn't figure out his mechanics. How
is he questionable?
We were looking at Mackenzie Gore as being the top pitching prospect for the last 5 years, and he couldn't break through because of how bad he sucked. Finally, he got an opportunity, and now he pitched well for a few innings, and now he's starting to regress back to the norm. And he's got a 1.3.
He just turned 23.
Okay, I'm just saying I'm not sure that he's good.
All right.
That's all I'm saying. He might be great. He might be
okay. Let me answer that then. Let me go off that. You said he might be great. Can Sean Manaea might be great, or do we know what Sean Manaea is?
Sean Manaea is certainly good. He's not great, and he's not bad.
Can Riley Green be great?
Probably not.
Oh, okay.
I don't know. But that's what I'm saying.
And we know Byron Buxton can be great. Okay.
We know that Buxton can be great, but that's right there. That's 3 question marks. We don't know what Riley Green is. We don't know if he's any good or not. I mean, yeah, sure, he was good in the minors, but so was Jared Kalenic. We don't know if Riley Green is the next Jared Kalenic or not. Byron Buxton, you know I love Byron Buxton, but he also is not stealing bases anymore. His on-base percentage isn't as great as it used to be, as it was back a year or two ago when he was playing on my team, being coached up by me. I used to coach him up, tell him how to grind out at bats and boost that on base percentage. But he's taken a step back ever since he's been under different ownership. But I mean, he's got some knee stuff. I mean, the knee keeps popping up. He's missing games left and right. That's why part of the reason why Eddie traded him. Yastrzemski, he's not really been remarkable in pretty much anything for his entire career. I don't know if he's really much of anything. And Zach Plesac, I'm not really a fan of his either. So yeah, sure, he's a $1 A, and I like that Tyler gathered these assets. Tyler is doing it right. I like what you said. You know, he's doing it just how he's supposed to do it. Tyler got 5 guys who have great ceilings, who are on great contracts. They're all, I think these are all A players, with the exception of Byron Buxton, who is a great bargain B contract. You're doing exactly what you should do if you're rebuilding, if you're gathering assets, getting cheap guys on long controllable contracts. Great, good job by Tyler. But I just think that Eddie did an even better job of trading 5 maybes for 3 sure things.
I don't know. I mean, let's just for fun, take a look at even Tim Anderson's numbers. He's gonna be a $25 C player next year, right? Now, granted, the OBP's got to be there because the on base percentage is there. So last few years, the OBP's been decent. The stolen bases have been, you know, up there a little bit. Home runs and RBIs, no. Okay. Runs, you can argue, are there for the most part, right? There for the most. Is this a guaranteed slam dunk $25 player based on everything you're seeing?
For me, no. I don't like $20 to $40 players that don't move the needle.
Right. And that's my thing with Tim Anderson. And that's why I'm sitting here thinking, I'm like, I would almost rather have, you know, the other assets than, and then that's not saying if I had Tim Anderson on my team and I had him, does that mean I would not keep him at $25? No, that's not what I'm saying. I'm not saying he's not worthy at $25, but when you really look at his stat line and what he provides for you on a fantasy team, he's good, but I just don't know if he's $25 good. And again, that's where and that's why this trade makes me shake my head if I'm Eddie, because yeah, Eddie might be making a little bit of a comeback in head to head, but I'll be honest, his team's really not, it's just not good. It's just not that scary. Eddie's
so I guess this does turn into a win-win then, if you're asking me, because I think Eddie gets Manaea, who's going to kind of steady his rotation a little bit. It's not going to make his rotation good, but it's going to steady it a little bit.
Gore's better though.
Eddie's in the playoffs right now. Eddie is the 6th seed in the playoffs right now. So Eddie is in the playoff. I would rather have 3 guys I can count on than the 5 question marks that he gave up.
Oh man, I don't know. I completely disagree. I think this was a move that was made a month too late for Eddie.
Possibly, yes, but I guess it's through the lens that you're looking at, through the perspective where you think that Eddie doesn't stand a chance, that he shouldn't even try and sneak into the playoffs and see what happens, that you think he should blow it up. And I'm thinking that his team is okay, his offense is good enough to compete with anybody, and if he just kind of figures out the pitching and gets lucky with the pitching, anything can happen. He's the 6th seed right now. There's no reason why he shouldn't try adding guys.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm not saying it's a little too late in terms of head to head. I mean, we've talked about Eddie's team at length. We both had him extremely low, I believe, in our last power ranking. So, I don't know. It just felt weird because, again, is Buxton really not providing what Tim Anderson's doing? I mean, literally, I mean, Buxton's doing more than what Tim Anderson's doing right now. So again, is that an upgrade? No. Okay. Mackenzie Gore, with less innings, but with about the same K per 9, with a better ERA, with a slightly less whip, so pretty much a wash, okay, is performing just the same or better than Manaea right now. So the 2 biggest names, Manaea and Anderson, he gets in this trade. Gore's performing just as good as him. You could argue Buxton's playing better, but he got saves, which, you know, he has 2 on the year on. So we got to give Eddie some saves. That's why it doesn't make sense to me. He's not really upgrading anywhere. Where's the upgrade coming from? Where do you see an upgrade at? Is Buxton putting up numbers better or same as Anderson? Is Gore putting up better numbers same as Manaea? Yes. Okay, so do we give Eddie the thumbs up because he got Romano? I don't know. I just don't see where you're seeing Eddie's getting this big upgrade.
The thing about Romano is I agree with the Romano thing, where it's just like, Man, if you look at where Eddie is, I guess if we're calling Eddie dead in Roto, like the Romano thing doesn't make any sense.
It doesn't.
Like,
Look where he is at saves,
and
man. I mean,
saves,
and
I
it,
mean, there's no chance. I mean, you're too far
no,
behind to make up any
too
ground in
far
Roto
behind.
with saves. You have 6 saves. It's gonna take you 11 saves just to catch up to Chad. Well, and like it's not like Chad's not getting saves and you're not getting saves either. Like
Right.
it's good. You'd have to get 11 more than everybody else. Like, yeah, I know you got Tanner Houck, but for him, I know he even said this. He
The
said
head-to-head
he
move.
said this. It's he's targeting head to head. He's like, I want to compete week to week.
Right.
If I got Romano and Houck getting saves, I'm not guaranteed to lose saves every week, like I have lost saves every single week that I've played this year. And maybe saves is the big thing where if like Eddie's offense, if Eddie wins four offensive categories every week or most weeks, and then he wins saves, that's 5 categories. Then then it gives you a little bit of leg room. If he's not going to win strikeouts, ERA, and WHIP in any given week, then you could still win matchups by winning some offensive categories, and then maybe saves as a coin flip. So I mean, I don't necessarily hate the strategy. So I mean, yeah, I mean Romano, I think you're discounting Romano and the impact that he has a little bit.
Are you value wise, Manea, and I'm pretty sure I know your answer to this, but just for fun, Manea at $10 next year, Gore at 1.
Gore at 1.
And that's I don't know. I mean, I'm happy you're honest on that because I thought you were going to give me the other answer, but I just love this for Tyler because again, he also gets Buxton at $14 next year, which again, we've had long conversations about this. As long as he's on the
look
field,
at you standing up for Byron Buxton and me trying to tear him
but
down.
in a trade like this, like
look how the tables have turned.
I know, right? The turntables, but it's just I don't know, dude. I love this trade for Tyler, and that's why when everyone's like, "Oh, Eddie made a trade," woo woo, Eddie made a trade, I'm like, yeah, he made a trade, but I don't really see it helping him that much. I think for this season, I think it's a very parallel move for Eddie, but it also raises the bar for Tyler because he gets to throw in Riley Green and Mackenzie Gore, who are both perennial prospects. So I love it for Tyler.
All right, we will go into the next deal. And this one's going to be a little tricky because there was a mistake here. And
yes.
Nice incompetency, guys. Figure it out for Christ's sake.
Damn.
Jesus. So Crimmy gave up Logan Gilbert. No.
He gave up
Sale,
Syndergaard.
He gave up Sale, Syndergaard, Drury, and Keegan Thompson, and got back Flores, Gilbert, and Anderson, not Peralta.
Mm-hmm.
Another deal that I just hate for Crimmy. I don't really get it. I thought this trade made a little bit of sense with it being Peralta instead of Ian Anderson, but then you put Ian Anderson in there and I'm like, ugh. So I mean, Chris Sale for Logan Gilbert, that seems like a relative wash to me. I mean, Logan Gilbert, like you said, is pitching right now, but when regards to like upside and what they kind of are, I mean, if you say Gilbert and Sale is a wash, that means that you're trading Flores, who is a nobody, right? He's been okay. I guess the RBI and run numbers are there, but OBP is below average. Stolen bases are 0. Home runs are 9. Like, I don't really view him as an asset. So you're giving up Flores and Ian Anderson, who I think has also been hot garbage this year. And Chris is getting Drury, who's been really good, Syndergaard, and Keegan Thompson.
I know Drury and Thompson are C players. I had Thompson just for a hot minute there when I needed a little extra arm. It's hard to trust him in your lineup every week, especially given the fact that he is not going deep into games. So he really is kind of a tough pull. But I know, Chris, we talked about it earlier in the show. He needs pitching, right?
Yeah.
So he got Thompson, Syndergaard, and Sale. The thing with Syndergaard is I think he's startable right now, but his strikeouts are concerning. Very concerning. Yeah. It's just not like him. And I know obviously it's been a couple of years since he's been on the mound. I don't know if it's a byproduct of that, but his whip's a little high. His ERA is kind of right at that edge. And then his Ks are really, really kind of surprisingly down. But Drury, like I said, Drury was a great pickup. He can play a little bit of all over. I know Krim picked him up. Great player so far, but is he an outlier? Because he's already right now probably had the best year of his career based on his numbers. I mean, he's performed that good already. That it's one of those things like, does he keep it up? But let's look at the big fish. Okay. Sale and Syndergaard for Gilbert and Anderson. I don't see in terms of 2-for-2 pitcher thing here. It's a tough call, Sale hasn't pitched yet this year. Gilbert, you could argue, is on is he a $2 player, right?
Yeah, he's a $2 B, so it'll be 7 next year.
7 next year. Okay, so he's pretty much a $7 player for Crimmy heading into next year. And I could argue right now, based on how he's pitched, that's a damn good deal.
You wanna know who I traded him for last year?
Who?
I gave up Logan Gilbert for Yimi Garcia last year.
Ooh, that's tough. Yeah, and I remember you did have Gilbert. Yeah. Again, it's one of those things. Does Gilbert keep it up? We don't know. But yes, Chris gets Jury, Chris gets Thompson. I don't want to completely throw those out the board, but 2 for 2. Are you taking Sale and Syndergaard, or are you taking Gilbert and Anderson? That's kind of a lot what it boils down to.
Yeah. So I don't know. Again, it's just another one of those deals where I just don't understand why it really made sense for Crim, but maybe you're just building this, as you said, Crim's just kind of building this powerhouse of what's this trade alert here? Was that a trade that went through? I'll have to look at that later. Building this powerhouse of like ERA and WHIP. So he's just kind of building guys based on ERA and WHIP. He's going to try and win ERA, WHIP, and wins quality starts every week. And maybe that's kind of his goal. But another guy that's Logan Gilbert's one strikeout per inning. So he's not really a huge strikeout guy. I don't think he's ace caliber. I think he's pitched really well so far. Let's see what he's done over the last month. About the same, 2.21 ERA, 1.09 WHIP. So basically right in line with what he's done for the year. So showing no signs of slowing down, which is good. I mean, maybe I underrate him a little bit. Maybe we all are guilty of overrating Chris Sale due to the fact that he's won a Cy Young in the past. But yeah, I just think that there was just a lot of just an overpay here, it just seemed. And I just wasn't a big fan of this from Kermie's perspective. If Chris needing pitching and giving up Logan Gilbert too, I don't really know how much it makes sense, but what kind of grades are you giving out here?
I mean, this one's kind of tough because I sometimes even wonder, I'm sure Sale rejoins the rotation when the time comes, but the Red Sox have in the past, when someone's been out that long, with the David
he's going back in the rotation.
Yeah. Okay. I wasn't sure because I know they've done the David Price treatment in the past before. So overall, I think this is I think Chris gets a bat and Jury. I think he gets a little bit more pitching depth in Syndergaard and Sale. But he does give up Gilbert. And I think that's tough right now because if you could argue who's the best player in this trade right now with the production they've given in 2022, I think by far and away right now it's Gilbert, right? So he needs pitching. He traded pitching, but I think he's hoping for the depth of Sale and Syndergaard kind of pushing him through the rest of the way because I know Ian Anderson struggled and he hasn't really been startable either, but Chris needed pitching, but gave up some pretty decent names here as well. So this is one of those I really need to see play out a little bit because I would right now say B for both because this could really go either way.
Yeah. All right. Then the last trade on the list, unless things get pushed through in the next few minutes, will be Jack Sawinski and Yu Darvish from Chad over to Just a Blah team for Kyle Gibson, Ian Happ, and JP Crawford. I don't really know what to make of this. I look at this and I only see one keeper of this whole bunch, and that's Ian Happ. I don't really know if Yu Darvish is being kept at his like $33 or $34 salary, whatever his current salary is. Jack Sawinski's kind of flash in the pan. He's been hot since he got picked up. I don't really know, 289 on base percentage, 2 stolen bases. I don't know if he's going to be a lineup staple the rest of the year for a fantasy squad. It's kind of jury's still out. I don't really know what to make of it. I just don't really trust Pittsburgh Pirates because they're pretty much never good. Kyle Gibson's not really all that good. He had a good half of baseball last year. That's about it for his career. Ian Happ is decent. I would have liked to have him on my team, but never really lined up that way. And JP Crawford, he's going to get some more playing time, maybe with Ty France injury. Maybe some guys get shipped around, maybe get some more second base. But 5 homers, 19 RBIs is nothing to write home about for somebody who's got 250 at bats. So I don't really view JP Crawford as much of an asset either, especially for a shortstop that's not going to give you much speed. He's got 3 stolen bases. So very blah move all around.
I like this one a little bit more for Chad. I think obviously Hap you get who's really doing a good job this year. His numbers have been really, really nice. So obviously that's a big piece there. But I don't think JP Crawford is looking at Chad's team next year, and he's gonna have to come up with 12 keepers, right? I mean, you don't have to keep 12, but I think at $2, I think I keep Crawford. Especially what he was able to do last year. He's got a 350 OBP. Last year he scored 90 runs. The home runs really aren't there. The RBIs really aren't there. Obviously the stolen bases aren't there, but for a $2 player, I think you could get worse than that. So I
Mhm.
think really you're looking at Chad shedding salary. And again, when we look at Chad's, I mentioned this a couple weeks ago, when we look at Chad's rotation next year, we're looking at a rotation of DeGrom, Glasnow, Shane Baz, Logan Webb, and Christian Javier. And, maybe that doesn't scare a lot of people, but that's like a combined, I want to say, like maybe $80 for all that. And that's even if he keeps Webb. I know he's been dangling him around as well, too. So he's got a
Sounds like
pretty
he's not
cheap,
going to.
yeah, he's got a pretty cheap rotation heading into next year with a lot of these guys. So again, like you said, this isn't a big needle changing move. Um, from Dave's perspective, he probably needed the pitching. He does need the pitching. So I do kind of like this in terms of that for Dave. But you're right. I don't know if Darvish is a surefire keeper next year at $33 either.
Yeah, I guess I'd kind of like it a little bit more for Dave. I think, really in a vacuum, I just kind of look at it as trading Ian Happ for Yu Darvish. I think it's a good win now move for anybody who's looking to add some pitching. So that's kind of whatever. I'll kind of give a B- to both teams. I think it was just kind of blah all around.
And now he's got Cruz, Cabrian Hayes, and Sawinski in his lineup. So now we're getting the
Boy.
Chargers treatment over here, but with the Buccos. So
the Buccos offense is not a recipe
yeah,
for success.
when you got
Loaded
three
up
of them
like
in your
that.
starting fantasy lineup, it's probably not good. But I guess you got a couple of the good ones there. Oh, no, O'Neal Cruz. We need to have an O'Neal Cruz. Like he's a bust alert. I know he's done his 28 at bats. I don't know if we should start.
Did you
Should we?
did you see his first 3 innings in his debut? The numbers.
Yeah. Should we start freaking out and saying like he's a bust? Do I need to post like a thing with 28 at bats,
Yeah.
like a 200 average type thing?
In his debut, he threw the hardest ball of any infielder of the Pirates this year. He had the highest exit velocity of any Pirates hitter, and he reached the highest sprint speed of any Pirates player on the year.
And the numbers are showing for it.
All the first 3 innings of his debut.
Yeah, numbers are showing for it so far. I wasn't sure if we needed to do the
so far.
Adley thing.
Well, let's see here. So he's got 28 at bats. So, and 1 stolen base. So let's see here. 4. That's a 20 stolen base pace.
Oh, wow. We're doing that. All right.
Let's see. It's 20 stolen bases. And let's see here.
He's 6'7". I hope
100 RBI pace.
Oh, how about that?
I'd take 100 RBIs and 20 stolen bases.
There you go.
Yeah, gotta love it. All right, Eric, that'll just about wrap us up. Do you have any closing thoughts?
No, the only thing that's kind of interesting is, like we said, really when it comes down to head to head, we're down to maybe 7 or 8 matchups left. So if you're looking at, I don't know. Yeah, let's take a look at that. I don't remember when exactly.
Oh, the other thing might need to double check is the trade deadline. All right,
yes.
1, 2,
because we go to period what?
4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Yeah, 8 weeks left, including.
So 8 weeks left. So I mean, when we're down to 8 weeks left, you're not, you really got to kind of look and see where you are competition wise on whether you can kind of squeak into that head to head spot. So there's a lot of just closeness there in the head to head rankings, all the way from 6 to pretty much till 11 ish. It's really, really close. So it's going to be a fun little thing. My thing is, and I know I mentioned this last show, there's still a lot of people hesitant on like obtaining C contract players, right?
Yeah.
And I know a lot of people are like, oh, it's a C contract. I really wonder as we get closer to the deadline when that kind of stigma falls off and they're like, man, I just need this player to win right now. Because I did that last year. I traded for Rodon, who is a C contract. I sent out Luis Robert because I'm like, I need Rodon right now to get in these head-to-head playoffs. So, and it's weird because if you think about it, if you get the C player now, you get them for more of the season. So if anything, if you're trying to trade for C players, it's not a month from now.
C player will have more value than he has right now.
Yes, a C player has more value now than he will tomorrow and the day after that. So it's always interesting that people are so hesitant to trade for C players when they're losing value by the day. So that's something to kind of look out for.
Yeah, people like throwing like C contract is pennies. Well, not when he actually helps your squad, and the season is far from over for anybody. So
we got 90 games left. We got 95 games left, guys. So I mean, like when we say 8 matchups, it almost feels like, oh, we're getting close to the wire, but what week are we in? This is matchup what?
Uh, we are in matchup 12.
Matchup
12 of
12.
22. Well,
12 of 22, right?
12
So
of 20 in the regular season.
12 of 20. So we're right at the what? Almost 2/3, right? Almost at that 2/3 ish mark. So in terms of head to head, so it's time to get cracking. We'll see what happens. It's going to be fun.
I just kind of noticed I got a pretty soft schedule the rest of the year.
Yeah.
I got
And that's where you got to think too.
Justin, Corey, Bryce, Chad, Dave, Crimmy, and you the rest of the year.
And that's when you got to think too, like at some point, do you kind of go in and go, I need to get these 5 or 6 categories almost every week, these 5, and kind of project that out 8 more matchups. Are you going to have enough wins to get in? And that's where the fun kind of starts happening. So
yeah, nothing like going into it knowing that you're already not going to get a first round bye.
Yeah.
I did a job drafting these divisions.
It's going to be because only the 2 division winners get it, and then it's just the next 4, right?
Yep. 2 division winners will get the buys, and then the next 4 best records after that.
Yeah, and it's real tight. So any move can be the difference. So don't be scared on C contract guys just because they got a C. Don't discriminate.
Yeah. All right. Well, our 45-minute long trade review podcast that lasted 2 hours is just about to wrap up.
Only us, right?
Thank you, Eric. Nice job today. Thanks, Eddie, and others for coming along for the ride. And see you next time.
Sounds good.